As we welcome in our NFL analyst, Kevin Clark. What do you make of the fit with Rodgers and the Steelers?
It's the best available option for both sides. I know people Rodgers' age who settled in their life, and it worked out for them, okay? And so this is, in his situation, he can still do things pre-snap. He can still sling the ball down the field. He can't move as well. People say, oh, if only he could move. If he could move, he wouldn't be available for a one-year deal on June 7th. He'd still be an MVP candidate. But if you're looking at the Steelers, you're looking at all the available options, and he's the best one. What do the Steelers provide him? Well, they provide him DK Metcalf, who's obviously a #1 receiver in this league, and a running game, and a offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith who's going to use play action. I hope he embraces that. He did not in New York. The Matt LaFleur offense in Green Bay worked with Aaron Rodgers. I want to see a merger between the Rodgers offense and the Arthur Smith offense, similar to what we had in Green Bay.
And you can't overstate the stability of an organization like the Steelers to play into this. And I think it's going to be a fun watch throughout the rest of the season.
I completely agree with you. The big thing is the Jets didn't want anybody bigger than the coach. Nobody in Pittsburgh is bigger than the coach.
That's right.
Nobody.
Or the organization.
In the town. McAfee sold out the arena, so maybe him there in Pittsburgh. But everybody else, it's 1A, 1B.
Outside of Indianapolis. Hey, Rodgers was the last major free agent domino to fall, but what offensive move do you believe stood above the rest?
I'm looking at Davante Adams here, and I think people kind of rolled their eyes because that veteran outside receiver in Los Angeles has flopped in the past. Sammy Watkins being one, Allen Robinson didn't perform, but I'm looking at Davante Adams, the way he finished the season in a bad offense. He still got open at a top 15 rate in this league. It's a cheap option. Puka Nacua is going to do most of the work there. Between McVay, Stafford coming back, this is a legitimate Super Bowl team. Right? The young guys on defense are going to gel. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, those guys, Cam Kitchens are going to take another leap in year 2. I think this is a special team, and I think Davante Adams doesn't have to do a lot to be a star here.
Back half of the season, the Rams really came on to get into the postseason. It's a fun young team to watch with a future Hall of Fame quarterback of their own right. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Which player on defense do you think was the best move?
I was looking around, and I'm going draft here. I'm going Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, who's now with the Ravens. The big thing for me, Matt, is that the adjustments they made in the secondary last year in Baltimore made them the best defense in football in November and December. That was Kyle Hamilton playing deep safety and letting everything else go to plan. Now, Malachi Starks is going to be able to play anywhere on the field, including deep safety, and he's going to free up Kyle Hamilton to be one of the best players in football, in all of football. So he's going to be able to play 5 positions. Hamilton will be able to play 5 positions. This adds an element to this defense I'm not sure the NFL is quite ready for. He's an impact guy, played a ton of SEC reps, a ton of big games. He's not going to, there's some injuries back there. He's not going to be a problem starting week 1.
You come out of Georgia and Kirby Smart.
Yeah,
you've played a lot of fundamentally sound football, and you step right into the NFL. Now we know 7 teams hired new head coaches this offseason. What's the best fit?
Ben Johnson. I mean, this is the easiest one. Yeah. This is the easiest question that I got here. When I look at Ben Johnson, I look at the Bears realizing there was a crisis on their hands. If they failed another young quarterback, they would never get another young quarterback like Caleb Williams ever again. But then B, they understood what they had to do. It's not just getting Ben Johnson, it's professionalizing the offensive line. It's Joe Thuney. It's guys who are going to keep Caleb Williams upright, have him get rid of the ball quicker, and let him do the Superman stuff behind the line of scrimmage. He likes to hold on to the ball too long. We know that about him. We saw it in college. And to me, one of the dumbest plans I've ever seen is having a guy who holds on to the ball too long behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. Okay?
It didn't work.
With a scheme guy who wasn't doing anything to help. Okay, that was a disaster last year. It will not be repeated. The Bears, I don't want to overstate this, the Bears may have figured something out. For the first time in my life.
It could work, and I'll tell you this, in terms of Caleb, last year the spotlight was squarely on him. I think they had a 9.5 win total going into last season. And then Jayden Daniels comes out of nowhere and says, hey, wait a second, I'm going to be the best rookie in the NFL. So perhaps Caleb, with a little bit of pressure off in a new regime, could settle him down to maximize the talent we saw in college.
Something very similar happened the year before with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, where everybody's talking about C.J. Stroud as an MVP candidate in year 2. Nobody's talking about Bryce Young, and there was just a quiet resurrection. The spotlight was off for him, allowed him to get better week over week. It won't be a disaster this year.
Year 3 for Bryce, though. I mean, it's now or never.
Gotta go.
Listen, you didn't have to go.
And Aaron Rodgers' Hall of Fame-worthy career will continue after a couple of tumultuous seasons with the New York Jets. It'll be a one-year deal worth $10 million with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, they shared snaps for Pittsburgh last season, starting strong and then losing their final 5 games and bowing out to the Ravens in the wild-card round of the playoffs. For more on Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers, we say hello to CBS Sports NFL analyst Charles Davis. Charles, right off the bat, We kind of saw it coming. What's your reaction now that it's actually happening?
One word, Russ, inevitable. And we've been, as you said, we saw it coming. We've been waiting for it to happen. I think in the beginning, that little bit of surprise. What do you mean he's not signed yet? We got OTAs, got mini camps. And then we realized none of the mandatory stuff was taking place. So all the discussions prior to lead us to believe that what he talked about with Omar Khan, what he talked about with Mike Tomlin, and of course Mr. Rooney was, I'll see you guys at mandatory minicamp. All right, you guys let me know then. That's when it'll happen. We don't have to worry about if I'm going to Egypt. We don't have to worry about if I decide to do something else. You know, I'll pick up the playbook quickly. And here we are. To me, the pressure was on Pittsburgh. If somehow he changed his mind, decided to retire, decided not to sign with Pittsburgh, the Steelers had the egg on their faces, much more so than Aaron Rodgers. Because if you're going to wait this long for someone, you better get him in the boat, right? You better land the big fish. And they finally did.
Look, it was a massive deal when Aaron Rodgers went to the New York Jets. Unfortunate with the injury right away in year one. It's not that he played terribly, actually, in year two, but the Jets were still pretty bad. Why is Pittsburgh a better spot for Aaron right now?
I think for this reason, Russ, when he went to the Jets, I mean, you remember the trumpets blaring and the talk of savior and the whole deal, but there's much more to it than just that. You know, he was able to dictate just about everything that went along with it, right? You had a head coach in Robert Saleh, who I respect greatly, but he was a first-time head coach and didn't have those skins on the wall as a head coach, right? He had an offensive coordinator that was essentially handpicked. Okay, so when you put all that together and every move that's being made was to accommodate him and bring in his favorite receivers and do other things, which is something you do when you're trying to be great with a player, that's fine. But since it didn't happen, now he goes to Pittsburgh. Guess what? He's not handpicking anything. He doesn't have to be the savior. The Steelers brand and franchise is good and more than good enough as it is. By the way, Mike Tomlin as a head coach, okay, he hasn't won a playoff game in nearly a decade, but he's had a Super Bowl, been to a second one of the most respected people in the game. He will run the Steelers franchise. This isn't a situation now where Aaron Rodgers comes in and he has to do all these things or even should do all these things. Now he becomes a piece of the puzzle, part of the cog, and this offensive line, Russ, they built it back up. And if Troy Fautanu plays well in his second year after being hurt as a rookie at right tackle, and Broderick Jones makes the move to left tackle, I love the interior. Isaac Seumalo at one guard, Zach Frazier the center, Mason McCormick at right guard. They draft Caleb Johnson at running back. You put him together now, you're bringing in, Gainwell from Philadelphia, Jaylen Warren, put together a running game for him, tight end and Pat Freiermuth, and of course, DK Metcalf out